What's up, guys? It's Steve Cardenas, aka Rocky the Red Power Ranger, and you are watching Smart Tank Revolution.
And welcome back to the Smart Tank Revolution, where we always kick out at 2. I am your host, flying the plane solo today, Mr. Donnie Wonderful, the benevolent intelligent, aka Big Time Donnie. Before we begin, I just want to give a shout out to all the new subscribers and supporters. We thank you all. You guys rev the engine for us to keep driving. And I also want to give a special shout out to my colleague, Mr. Joey Business, whose content on this channel, in my opinion, is the best. I absolutely love listening to his insights. And, we were together for the Survivor Series, but unfortunately, I had to leave before we got a chance to record. But it's always great being in the company of Mr. Joey Business. Now, today is another episode or installment of The Essentials, where we rank wrestlers. And just like my colleague, this is one of my favorite things to do on this channel. And this one is a special one to me because it's going to kind of tackle two different layers, so to speak. I've been waiting and holding off on this one to do, but the longer I hold off and wait on it, I think the better it becomes. It kind of ages like fine wine because I was going to do a separate video talking about the with the topic being covering the luchador style, but there's a drastic difference between the Mexican luchador style and the American luchador style. And I kind of wanted to make that contrast and comparison with this man in mind. But we're going to get into it. Today we're talking about my boy, Rey Mysterio. And I haven't made the thumbnail yet, but you can see the picture of me and Ray. I'm 6'4", 250, you know, football player, basketball player, boxer. And this is little Ray. It looks like I'm bringing a child trick-or-treating. I get it. And the more I think of it, when I first seen him, I said, man, this little guy's done all these phenomenal athletic maneuvers that I've loved for years. And I've loved Rey Mysterio for years. But real quick, to give you a synopsis, if you already haven't noticed or if you're unaware of what we do on the Essentials, and I know we're in 20, I believe, episode 23, 24, 23 of these things, whatever. We rank wrestlers based on two criterias. One of them comes from Bret Hart's Autobiography, My Real Life in the Cartoon World of Wrestling. And he evaluates wrestlers using three unique attributes, as we call them. And he scores them from a 1 to 10. And after we go through Bret Hart's scale, we go through our exclusive ranking system, in which we call the Essentials, hence the name of the playlist that you're listening to. And we also rank three different categories, but we do ours from 1 to 5, whereas Brett does from 1 to 10. And I believe Brett says if you're over, if your final score is a 20 plus, that puts you in the higher echelon. Whereas ours, if you score a 9 plus, that puts you, I guess, in the higher echelons as well. But we also allow more leniency with ours. So there'll be a 1.25, 1.5, whatever. And it's all, of course, based on our interpretation and our preferences of what we like. And one thing that we like to do on these things is we like to go off the cuff and kind of we're speaking to a mic, but we kind of want to create the feel as if we're talking in the backyard or we're talking in the living room watching a wrestling pay-per-view or Raw, and we're just reminiscing and we're just going off memory. So, forgive us if, especially me, if I'm off by a year or two, or if I'm just off in general. But one thing I do love about our supporters is that when we are off, you guys hit that comment section up. And I absolutely love engaging with you and reading your comments and reading your opinions, your support, and your detractions. Hey, some of that stuff is just hilarious. Like go back and listen to the Hulk Hogan 1998 WCW contract. Those comments are absolutely remarkable. Even the ones that are getting at me. Hey, you know, we put ourselves out in the world, so we take the good and the bad. But we're gonna get into this one now. The essentials. All right, beginning with Bret Hart's um rating system here. Three categories: wrestler's look, promo ability, and ring work. We're talking about Rey Mysterio. I think I want to get through Brett's fairly quickly because I want to get to ours. Because again, as I alluded to, I really want to discuss the difference between the Mexican luchador style and the American luchador style. And think that there's well, we're gonna get to that. So let's begin with the wrestler's look. Their physique, appearance, and presentation. I became a fan of Rey Mysterio in 1996, I believe. Really, when Eric Bischoff was taking the cruiserweights, as they called it back then, the cruiserweight division. If you watched Nitro in the 90s, and most of my peers, of course, we loved the NWO and we loved Sting, and the battle between NWO and NWCW was epic. And we loved the groups, the Horsemen, and the Dungeon of Dooms. But that cruiserweight section was absolutely remarkable because there were guys doing things that we hadn't seen, at least I haven't seen before. Flying head scissors. Like I wasn't getting that on the WWF in that time. If we were, it would be subtle, but a lot of the wrestlers that were doing it outside of Jerry Lynn's really good at it. He was the mysterious JL in WCW, so he was there, and we got some athleticism out of like Alex Wright, Das Wonder Kid. And I'm trying to think of I know Conan, I believe he was over in Japan. I know he was in WWF as Max Moon. So like we got glimpses of it, but we didn't get the full scale until the Guerreros, until Rey Mysterio, Super Crazy, Psychosis, Ultimo Dragons, like those the Juventudes, like those type of that type of style of wrestling, like we really didn't get in abundance, in my opinion, until the mid to late 90s. And one of the pioneers of it, in my opinion, was Ray. Again, physique for his size, you know, he's. I think it is. He's fair. He's fair. He's decent. To give a basketball reference, he's a point guard, and like not the biggest, obviously. Um, but if he were walking by, or as Joey likes to say, if we're in a supermarket, we're buying bread, do you look at Rey Mysterio and say, "Hey, that guy's a wrestler"? No, no, you don't. But I'm not going to take away from the appearance. I loved his ring attire, especially with the mask and the ring pant coordination. Um, WCW, I think you got the best ring attire out of him. I think in his WWE years, he's become more creative with it. So I'm gonna give him some points and some credit on that, and I'm gonna give him a um. I'm gonna go with a solid 7. I'm gonna go with a solid 7. I really want to say 8, but I feel like it's fair. Like he has a great look when he's in the ring. Outside of the ring, he looks like a regular civilian outside of the mask, but still, he's always been in good shape. And to wrestle the style that he's wrestled, where he constantly has to flip and move and bounce, and to be wrestling for as long as he has been, um that says a lot. So I'm gonna stick with the 7. My heart says 8, but I'm gonna go with the 7. The promo ability is next, ranked from 1 to 10. The effectiveness of performing a dialogue or monologue used to advance the storyline. There's nothing really special about Rey Mysterio promo. I think that, they're typically short and sweet. They kind of fall under the the Bret Hart umbrella of cutting promos. He says what he has to say, um, unless it's a topic that emotionally drives him. I mean, you're gonna hear his voice flexion when he's talking about his son or when they bring his family in. But outside of that, he's the little guy that has to battle the giants. So, he is the quintessential David in a sport full of Goliaths. Um, so here he really doesn't, in my opinion, that alone nullifies the fact that he has to cut a great promo. All Ray has to do, in my opinion, is just stand there and say, "Hey, I'm willing to fight." We're always going to root for the underdog, and we're always going to root for the little scrapper. Ray's had great, and we're going to get to his great matches, but yeah, I think his matches speak more loudly than his promos ever did. So I'm just going to give him a 7 there. That's not bad. His in-ring work here is the third on Bret Hart's scale, and I think that's where he's gonna shine. Um, that's a style that's difficult to do. And believe you me, I've tried it. We think about this, okay? If you grew up playing wrestling in your backyard, and you were born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, by the time you seen the Hardys, man, you trying to do all that stuff. I mean, am I right? Now let me know in the comments. I've been trying for years to effectively perform what do they call it? The Hurricane Rana. I got stories about that, man. Like me trying to do the Hurricane Rana. I was actually able to pull off quite a few of them, but me attempting to do that without the fear of risking a broken neck is something different. That's what I actually mean to say. And Ray, you inspired a lot of that out of me. Your in-ring work, in my opinion, has been consistently great. You can wrestle with just about anybody and, tell a great story. You're always going to invoke sympathy. Can you imagine? Oh, well, like, let's just throw him in there. Let's say Rey Mysterio versus Great Khali in 2022. You know, not the best matchup aesthetically, but you, when Khali starts to lay it in on Ray, you're gonna pull for the little guy, and I think that's been oh, better yet, how about this? Go back to WCW and watched Rey Mysterio and Kevin Nash. I thought that was really in his younger, before the tats, because there's eras of Rey Mysterio that deserve to be mentioned too. So before the tats, ooh, man, like that Rey Mysterio can really bump, and he can really, really draw that sympathy out of us. His in-ring work, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna give him a 9. I think he's a trendsetter and a trailblazer when it comes to to that style of wrestling. So 7, 7, 9. He's above the 20s, and he deserves to be there. I mean, Rey Mysterio is a legend. He's one of my absolute favorites, and a pure classy gentleman to meet. Like that. Matter of fact, what I'll do also is, if I remember by the time I'm uploading this, is I'll post a snippet of the interview that we did with Ray. In the picture you see is 2017 Comic Con in Providence, Rhode Island, and Ray took pictures with us, gave us a great interview. Just overall great guy. Um, tip my hat off to him. He's a good dude. So now we're gonna go over and transition over to our Smart Tank Revolution's unique rating system, the essentials. We also score and rank by 3 categories. And we're going to begin with the innovative effectiveness, which is the ability to work as a baby face or heel. Um, so this is going to be interesting. I think I'm going to cut this one right down the middle and just say 3. Um, there was a time where he was heelish. Oh, especially like when they took the mask off him in WCW and when he was with the Radicals, I believe is the only noticeable time that I can remember that Ray being a heel. Um, but still, he had Ray has, in my opinion, like the Hulkamania appeal. Like, he'll always just be a babyface. So I can't really speak to, Ray as a heel. I'm pretty sure he can do it. But, when I think of Rey Mysterio and Rey Mysterio Jr., everything, Ray's entire career that I've seen on television and that I've referenced to on YouTube, um, he's been a great baby face, and that's where the strength of him lies. So I'll give him a 3. We're gonna go right in the middle, and I think that's fair. And I want to make sure that like going forward, even though like my emotions tug me to rank these guys that I admire, because everyone that we do on these essentials are wrestlers that we're fans of. So I want to make sure that I keep it relatively honest and objective, unless it's Bret Hart, of course. Bret Hart can do no wrong, in my opinion. So next, I'm gonna do oh, we have classic matches and classic rivalries, highlight reel, and the go-to matches that are best associated with the performer. Man, there's so many of them, man. Like, and I know you guys can't see me, but this smile on my face is for real. I mean, all right, let's just begin with Eddie Guerrero. And you can pick from uh ECW, WCW, WWF/WWE. Every time those two get in the ring, it was absolute pure magic. And their classics and their reels and it's the go-tos. And a lot of people don't even talk about Conan. You know, oh, man, Rey Mysterio and Conan. Classic stuff. And you guys know what? A lot of that we were getting free on Nitro. We were getting these free on Monday night. Not everything has to be as on a grand scale as a WrestleMania to be as grand. You know, and that's one thing that I loved about AEW year one is that we were getting great pay-per-view matches every Wednesday. And Raw under Triple H's watch, and even more so under Vince's watch. I mean, we were actually getting great match or two just with 8 minutes instead of 15. So week to week, if somebody's putting on great performances with multiple people, I believe we can't give them anything less than a perfect score. I mean, like this is a 5. Chris Jericho, Rey Mysterio, come on, man. Like, have y'all seen Ray and Dean Malenko? Mm, like there's way too many to name, and that's why I typically like to pick guys that have wrestled in multiple decades. So with Ray, you get the '90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and obviously he's still present. So you know, it's really easy to rank his body of work because he has so much of it, and he's like I said, just consistently great. I mean, how about this? And I probably wouldn't top the scale in rivalries like the rest of the guys that I named, but I enjoyed watching the little short feud he had with Brock Lesnar. I mean, that kind of Tom and Jerry cat and mouse. He comes out with the pole, hits him in the leg, runs. Brent gets his son involved. Like that stuff works, and I don't think it works for anybody outside of Sean Waltman when he was the 1, 2, 3 kid. I don't think it worked for anybody as much as it did genuinely for Rey Mysterio. And it wasn't his gimmick. He was just a little guy. He won a Royal Rumble, former world champion, but he was always the David, and he's going to be the David in most situations and rivalries that he's in. Salute to you. He gets a 5 here. And then the defining and redefining moments, um, the career defining moments of a wrestler. This is kind of hard because like his he when he was young, it was when he was younger in WCW, it was the whole cruiserweight title era. Um, when you get to the WWE and Titan Towers, obviously it's a world championship, and he did that. And I thought that he had a great run. He had a great run that often gets um blown under dusted swept under the rug rather. Oh, did I mention just going back on classic matches, if you look at not the 2006 one night stand, but Ray and Sabu. Ooh, ooh. But yeah, back to defining and redefining moments, man. How about this? And this is more of an emotional cute, but this one kind of tugs at me, man. Like the fact that you get to see father and son. Now, my background I mentioned earlier, like I'm into boxing. Own a boxing gym, co-owner of boxing gym. Shout out to One Punch Boxing Club. And one thing that I absolutely love to see is father and son, coaching boxing um connection. The father's the coach, son's the boxer, or just like just the father and son pair. Mothers, I have a great mother. She did a great job. Mothers get their fair shake, and I think dads should too. And I have an incredible father. He's influenced me, like the name itself, Donnie Wonderful. That's him. That's his basketball nickname. I'm just the little Donnie. Like, but yeah, like I love to see father and son, and I think a defining moment would be Ray and Dominic winning the tag team titles. I think that's come on, man. Like, it's emotional for me because I love to see stuff like that. When you get family involved. I think that like the first role models that we have are, the figures that resemble us the most, you know, and they're the ones that you see every day, your dads, your brothers, whatever. But like the fact that Dominic Mysterio followed in his father's footsteps, and he's at currently, an active wrestler in WWE. I think that's really, really defining because Ray has to trailblaze a way for that to happen. And I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome to watch. Outside of that, like I said, his world title victory, the early part of his 2006 is has some good defining stuff. I call that the cherry on top because he's been having great matches before that. The category before that was the classic matches and classic rivalries, and they that kind of goes hand in hand with the defining and redefining moments. Um, so I know I said that I wasn't that I would try to not be so you know emotional with my rankings, but I'm just because this one tugs at me. It should probably be a 4, but I'm just gonna give it a 5, and I ask that you all understand. It's the father and son dynamic, man. Come on, can't blame me for that. So but yeah, and real quick, I do want to touch on this. Hey, do you guys notice if you watch any of those matches, like the pace of the Mexican luchador style? Like if we were to watch the Lucha Brothers, Ray Phoenix, they did this in AEW. Ray Phoenix versus Penta. The pace that they do everything is so crisp and so sharp. But when the Americans do it, like when the Bucks do it, and they pull off the moves. But I just feel like the American luchador style is a bit slower and slower paced because we're watching guys set these spots up. And maybe that's it. It's because it's so spot heavy. It's like you're clearly helping him do these things. Whereas the especially the WCW mid 90s cruiserweight battles. Like I said, I mentioned, oh, Super Callow. Matter of fact, we just had a War Games pass. Super Callow and I can't remember. I think it may have been Psychosis. One of the mass wrestlers. They did the most with two rings that I've ever seen in my life. And right when I finished recording this, I'm going to go YouTube that, or I'm pretty sure they have it on Peacock. But and that was War Games like 95 or 96. It was something crazy. But look at the pace that they wrestle at. Look when they do their spots. Look when they jump off the top rope and they do their flips. And it just seems like now that, I guess there's so much of it. So, guys are like, oh, this spot is coming up. Let's just slowly get into position so we can catch this man versus, oh man, this is naturally happening. So I'm probably, like I said, I'm gonna save that for another video and go more in depth with those two styles. But I definitely wanted to touch on that. But I had a blast doing this Rey Mysterio's Essentials. For me, it was long overdue. And now I want to know what you guys think. If you guys agree or disagree, please leave it in the comment section and we'll keep these videos coming. We have more content, even more wrestling movies. There's stuff that's recorded that I just have to put out. So I can promise you guys more content. And I know you guys love these. And there's some great events coming up that me and Joey will be unified once again, and we'll give you our insight on what's going on in those pay-per-views. So thank you guys for listening. We'll take you on the next one.